All right, welcome to this live resume and CV review for remote jobs. That's what we are going to talk about today. My name is Juliana Rabi. I am a career coach for remote jobs, and my goal with this live, my invitation to you is to learn as much as possible from me, from my extensive background working with resumes, with clients who want to land a remote job, and help you to improve your resume. So if you are considering or if you are actively searching for a remote job, this is going to be extremely practical and helpful to you because I'm going to review live some resumes and pointed out things, aspects, situation, text, the order of the information, everything to increase the chances that the owner of the resume, right, land a remote job, but also you, because you're going to learn from me how you can improve your resume for remote jobs. So you're very welcome. If you're watching live, you're also very welcome if you're watching the recording, okay? I just want to make sure that the sound is okay, the image is also good. So if you're watching live, I would appreciate if you could say hi in the chat and also let me know where are you connecting from, okay? I know I have a very international audience, so it's also always nice to know where people are connecting from. So just say hi in the chat. We are streaming to LinkedIn and also to YouTube. So will be nice to confirm that all the technical things are working properly. So just say hi in the chat and also let me know where are you connecting from, okay? The goal of this live is review some resumes, like real resumes. Some of you sent me resumes and I will review them here. The ones, hi from Monterey, California, nice to have you here. The ones who I selected the resume to review live, they did one more step, okay? They went here and they scanned this QR code and they were directed to a secret group where I shared instructions to send me their resume for review. So that's what they did. You can do that. You can scan here and maybe your resume will be the next one that I will review. I'm going to do a series of lives to review more resumes. So I really want to help as many people as possible. So if you want to have your resume reviewed by me live, just scan this QR code here. You're going to be directed to a special group and the instructions will be there. Okay, just read the step-by-step that you need to follow. In this group also, next week, I will be sharing a special offer for you to have my direct support to improve your resume for remote jobs. So if you really want to learn how to do it, and in my opinion, you should, because that's such an important aspect of landing a remote job, right? Having a resume that is 100% optimized for remote jobs is a must to land a remote job. So just scan this QR code. There will be a special offer next week to help you with your resume writing, resume optimization specifically for remote jobs, okay? So welcome to everyone who is joining the live. My name is Juliana Rabi, and today I'm going to review live some resumes for remote jobs, okay? I also want to say that as a career coach, right, I have conversations with job seekers just like you, okay? Every single day, people reach out to me, they send me emails, messages, and all of that. And they're like, Juliana, I am not sure if my resume is good enough for remote jobs. Or I have been trying to improve my resume, sometimes for weeks, sometimes even for months, but I'm still not sure. I'm still not confident. I still have some specific questions. I don't feel that my resume is reflecting my best version. I also hear that a lot. Or I think it's too long, but I think it's too short. So I understand that there are a lot of questions about resume, and that's normal, because if you are a great professional in what you do, it doesn't mean that you know how to translate that into a good resume, right? It's two different things. So writing a resume is a skill, right? People study for that. People learn how to do it. So it doesn't mean that because you are a good professional, your resume automatically will be good. No, you can be an amazing professional and have a resume that when people read, it's like, I don't want to interview this person. This resume is kind of meh. It's empty. It doesn't really show what I'm looking for. On the other hand, we also have resumes that look amazing. And when you interview the candidate, it's like, yeah, this is not what I was expecting more. So we want to align those two things. We want that you show your best version in your resume, but you also need to be good at what you do, right? So we combine those two things so you don't sound fake when you go for a job interview and the recruiter was expecting more because the resume was so good, but then in person you are not all of that. But if your resume is not good, you will not move forward in the recruitment processes. That's the thing. The goal of the resume is to get you a job interview. That's the main goal. So why should you have a good resume? Because you want to get a job interview. When you go for the job interview, the goal of the interview itself is that you get the job. But that's another story. That's like interview preparation, not what we're going to cover here. So you need to ensure that your resume is showing your best version online, is very aligned with the job and the company you're working for. And if you want to land a remote job, you know that the competition is very high. You know that it's normal to find remote jobs that have, I don't know, 200 people who applied for those jobs, even more, right? So the competition is very hard. It's very cruel. So having an optimized remote job for the job you want to apply for is what is going to help you to move forward in the process. That's why it is so important. It's like a crucial puzzle, a crucial, extremely important part in the process of landing a remote job. So a good resume is necessary if you are already searching for a remote job or if you are thinking about starting the search, maybe next month or whatever. It's time to review your resume, okay? So I'm actually curious for the ones who are watching live, if you are already searching, like actively searching for a remote job, or if you want to start soon. So just let me know in the chat. You can write actively if you're actively like every day searching for remote jobs, or if you're more like casually looking or considering, you know, maybe in the future land a remote job. In both cases, I just want to know in the chat, so let me know there. But in both cases, this live is going to be helpful to you because if you need a resume ready now, like to start applying or to keep applying for jobs, I'll help you with that. And if you want to just prepare your resume first to start applying for remote jobs in like a month or so, you also can do that. So this live is also going to be good for you. So just let me know in the chat if you are actively searching, like, yes, this is my priority at the moment. I really want to land a remote job. That's my goal, my career goal at the moment, just an amazing goal in my opinion. Or if you are more like curious, you want to learn about it before, and then maybe in the future, you will start doing that. Just let me know in the chat, okay? Actively, I see some people that are actively. So amazing. This is going to be especially good for you, this live. So look, I want to keep the chat open. If you have any question, any comment, I will share on the screen some resumes that some of you sent me, so real stuff, and I will go like step by step, detail by detail. But if you want to ask me any question, maybe regarding resumes for remote jobs in general, if you want to make any comment about what I'm sharing here, the improvements, the suggestions I'm sharing here, or if you want to share also what you're learning from that, some insight that you had, some ideas, so feel free to use the chat. I'll keep an eye on it from time to time, okay? So I'm going to start now with our first resume for remote job. Oh, this is exciting. Really like this part. Let's go into it. This is the resume of Julie. So Julie went to this group here that you see, this one, the group, the QR code that you see on the screen. So Julie scanned that and she was directed to my private group related to remote jobs. She followed the steps there and I chose her resume to evaluate here. So Julie, thank you for sharing your resume. Thank you for allowing me to give you this feedback, but also to teach others about how to improve their resume for a remote job. So I'm very grateful to you that you decided to share this resume. I don't know if Julie is watching live. So Julie, if you are, just say hi in the chat. It will be nice to know that you're here. But you can also watch the recording, of course. But let me know, Julie, if you're live here while I'm reviewing your resume. Look, before I start, I just want to say one thing. There are a lot of good things in Julie's resume, okay, as well as in the other resumes that I'm going to review today. But the purpose of this live is to teach you, Julie, and you who's watching, right, to teach you to improve the resume. So my focus, my comments will be only in the things that can be improved, okay? So I'm gonna be a bit hard here. I'm gonna go straight to the point and show the things that can be improved for resumes for remote jobs. So I won't touch in the aspects, I won't cover the aspects that are good on the resume, and there are plenty. There are many things that are good in Julie's resume and in the next resumes, but for the purpose of this live, to be more productive for you to learn more, I will only focus on the things to be improved, okay? But again, it doesn't mean that the resume is all bad. Actually, there are a lot of very good things in Julie's resume and in the next ones, but let's focus on aspects to improve. And I also took some notes, so I wrote down here some the feedback, just to make sure I deliver as much value as possible. So I'll keep my notebook here, and if you see me like looking down, it's because I'm checking my notes, okay? So I don't get lost and I share everything that I prepared for you. I was studying for this live, okay? I was preparing for that. So I just took notes to make sure that I don't forget any important thing that I want to share with you. All right, so let's go and talk more in details about Julie's resume, and you might be making the same mistakes in your resume. So take notes about it, okay? Write it down, and I'm sure you're going to learn from this resume review, okay? So we have Julie's resume here. Okay, one thing I want to say, one feedback Julia can give about your resume, and maybe other people who are watching, they are also making the same mistakes. You see in this pink part here, in this initial part, this is what we call contact details, okay? That should be the first part in the resume where you have your name, right? So people know clearly who sent the resume, and also the ways to contact you, okay? So you wrote your email, that's correct. You should always have your email here. Just make sure it's an email that you check often, especially if you have more than one email. So make sure this is like your most checked email, or at least the one you're going to check more during your job search. Then you added the phone number. The phone number is also important, but I will say this, Julie, make sure you add the international code in front of the number, okay? Because when it comes to remote companies, okay, remote jobs, people can be spread in different countries, in different continents, and you don't know where the recruiter is going to contact you from. So maybe the recruiter doesn't know the international code to call you, right? Of course, the person can eventually search for it based on where you live, but it's extra work for the recruiter, okay? And actually, you don't need to mention this part. This is not a mandatory part, okay? The city, the state, and the country. So if you don't mention that, it's also fine. But make sure that the phone number, in the phone number, you have the international code in the front. It's just a small thing that you're going to add that's going to make the recruiter's life much easier and increase the chance that if the person actually want to call you, they will be able to talk to you. Sometimes just because of the international code, the recruiter cannot contact you, and then they're going to move to another resume and contact someone else. So small details that can make a difference. Also, Julie, what I missed here in this initial part, okay, where you share your name, the email, and the phone number, is the link to your LinkedIn profile, also known as URL. Okay, pretty much is the link that if people click, they will be automatically directed to your LinkedIn profile. Why is that? Because look, the resume and the LinkedIn profile, they combine each other, they complement each other in this initial screening that recruiters will make to decide if you move forward to the job interview or not. So it's just easier. Again, let's make the recruiter's life easier, right? It's just easier if you add the link to your profile, because then the recruiter can click and automatically go to your profile. There is also one thing here. Depending on the connection level that you have with that recruiter that is screening your resume, and you might not even know who is that person, so you don't know upfront if you are connected on LinkedIn to that person or not. Even if the person type your name will not show up on LinkedIn. Okay, this is a bit more complex to explain. It's not my focus here, but what I'm saying is that if you are assuming that, oh, they can type my name and like my name and surname on LinkedIn, and they're going to find my profile, not necessarily. Okay, it's a bit risky for different reasons. So just add the URL, the link to your LinkedIn profile in this initial part, in this initial block where you have all the other contact details. Okay, that's very important, and it's a very common mistake that a lot of job seekers make. They don't realize, they don't think it is so important to add the link to the LinkedIn profile, but it is, that I want to share. And then look, I was reading your resume. I'm going to scroll down quickly so people can have a quick look on your resume. But I was reading it before carefully. I read it a couple of times, and to tell you the truth, it was not clear to me if you already have experience working remotely or not. Okay, Julie, it's not clear to me. And I always think that maybe at least during the pandemic, people worked for some months or maybe a couple of years remotely, right? But I don't want to assume, or I don't want the recruiter to assume, or maybe Julie has remote work experience, maybe not. I really don't know, Julie. It was not clear to me. So make sure that you make it more explicit if you have remote work experience. So it's not about lying. And I know that some people, even some of my clients who join my mentoring group and my, coaching program, they say, Julian, I never worked remotely. I want to land my first remote job. And that's perfect. That's also possible. And I help my clients with that. But my invitation is, if you did work remotely for 1 month, for 6 months, for a year, for 2 years, even if your contract was not initially remote, please make sure you mention that. Because Julie, in your resume, I was reading, I was like, it's not clear if you work remotely. And look, if you're applying for a remote company, for a remote job, of course, they'll be happy to know that you have previous remote work experience. That's going to increase the chances that you move forward in the process. So don't lie about it, okay? But if you have remote work experience, make sure you mention that in your resume. There are different places in the resume that you can mention that. You can mention it here in the professional summary. You can mention that in the skills. You can mention that in the work history. Even here in the contact details, I tell away to my clients a secret way to mention that. So there are different places in the resume that you can mention that you have remote work experience. But please, if you did work remotely, even if it was for a short period of time, you want to make sure you highlight that in your resume in different parts, okay? So just highlight that, make it clear to the recruiter if you have remote work experience, okay? Now I want to talk, Julie, about the work history, okay? This part here. Some people call this part experience, or career experience, or career history. There are different names for this section, which is totally fine. The problem is not the name itself, okay? The problem is how you write the information here to make sure that it's written in the best way as possible, that is showing your best version in the resume and showing that you're a good fit for that specific job, remote job you're applying for, okay? So if you call it differently, I call it experience or work experience, that's fine. That's not the point I want to make it here. What I want to share about Julie's resume, and maybe this is going to be helpful to you also, because it's a very common mistake that I see job seekers doing. They tend to write this part here, maybe in bullet points, maybe in a text, okay? But the way they write, it's very descriptive. What I mean by that is that Julie did this mistake, and a lot of job seekers do it too. They are describing the tasks that they did in the job. They are almost like they copy and paste that information from the job description. So it's a descriptive resume. It's a task-based resume. Let me share an example. I think it's going to be more clear. Okay, look. Actively negotiated, this is what that I'm highlighting, okay, the second bullet point. Actively negotiated agreements with external partners such as contractors or consultants. Okay, so Julie here is telling me that she was the one negotiating the agreement, okay, with some partners, consultants, and all of that. That's interesting. That's good to know, okay? So I see that as a business consultant, lead director, she was doing that. But that's very descriptive, because I don't know what happened with those negotiations. I don't know what happens next. I just know she did it, period. But were those negotiations successful? Were she closing contracts, important contracts with important consultants or clients because of her negotiation skills? Was she helping the company to save money with the way she was negotiating the contracts? Was she being awarded within the company among the other business consultants because she was really good in the negotiation agreements and she was bringing more business, more revenue to the company? You see my point? When you just stop in the, I was negotiating agreements, I don't know what was happening after that. And to tell you the truth, companies, especially remote companies, they want to see results, okay? It's not about, oh, I was busy doing my job. Nobody will see you busy doing your job if you're working remotely, but they will be able to see the results, okay? So when you shift the perspective in your resume from task-based resume to results, to achievement, is going to make very big difference. And I see very few job seekers doing that. So Julie and everyone watching, just by shifting that from task, just list all the tasks, to focus on the achievements, on the results, your resume will already stand out a lot for remote companies, okay? I want to know in the chat if people were familiar with that, this focusing on achievements and on resumes, because I know that not everyone knows about it. I know this can be a new thing, a new concept, kind of like I never thought about it. So let me know in the chat if you are familiar with this idea of moving away from only listing the tasks in your resume, which is the most common way, okay, to bringing up the results, the achievements. And look, you might have trouble or difficulties at the beginning to remember the achievement. It's like, Juliana, this job was like 5 years ago. How can I remember, the impact, the results? I don't remember, or I was never told. I was just like doing my job. So I know it can be hard. This is one of the things that my clients struggle more. But if you're already aware that I need to bring results to my resume, I need to be more specific, I need to share achievements, this is already slowly going to help you to shift this focus. So let me know in the chat if your resume has any kind of results, achievements, or if it's more like, no, Julian, it's pretty much like tasking, just telling what I did instead of demonstrating, instead of bringing a specific example. Let me know in the chat, because I know this is a very common mistake, right, in resumes. And one more thing I want to bring about Julie's resume, I'm going to scroll down to show this part. It's in the final part of the resume. Look at this. References. Okay, this is a classic part in the resume. Normally comes at the end, and you write references. In this case, you wrote references available upon request. Sometimes you also write the name of the person that can give reference about you. Sometimes the email or the phone number or both, or the job title and all of that. So look, this is something that adding this section in your resume, okay, like references, and talk about it. This is something that was very common in the, let's say, in the 90s. Some years ago, it was normal and also expected that you would add the references on your resume, or at least this phrase, like, look, references available upon request, meaning if you need the references, I'm going to share that with you. I have no problem. Like, I have references. That's the message that you want to give to who is reading. But nowadays, the times that we are living now, this part here, the references part, is not necessary anymore. So you don't need a references part in your resume. It's not necessary. First, it's going to give an impression that your resume is like an old style resume. It's not updated to the new tendencies, the new needs. So first, it's going to give like an outlook, old style resume. But also, with all the data protection, it changes from country to country, but overall, people are more careful with sharing contact details and personal information of other people, right, in their documents. So it's just going to be like messy. In some countries, this is like highly seen as something like you shouldn't add reference. So just trust me, remove the references part if you have that in your resume like Judy had. Look, if to say that references are available upon request, it doesn't change anything. If they ask the reference, you will present. If you don't present, well, you might not move forward in the process. That's it. So forget about reference. This is not necessary. This is not a good use of your resume. Resume is already a condensed, a short document, so just forget about the reference. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't have references. Okay, you should have. Companies might ask for that. Remote companies can also ask for your reference. Normally, it's going to be towards the end of the process, like when they are between you and another candidate, or between three candidates. Okay, they are going to ask. So you should have reference. It's not to ignore the reference. It's just like, don't mention this part here in your resume. That's all I'm saying. Keep the reference. That's amazing to have that. Keep their name, their phone number, their email address. Let them know that the company might contact. So there is a whole step-by-step regarding the reference. I also teach my clients that, right? What to do when you have references and when your company want to call them. That's another story. So you should have reference, but you don't need to mention them on your resume, okay? Especially resumes for remote jobs. There is no need. It's going to look outdated, and it's just useless. You can use the space in a resume that is reduced to better things than that, okay? So that was my feedback about Julie's resume. Julie, once again, thank you very much for sharing that. Thank you for allowing me to give you this feedback and help you directly to improve it, but also help others who are watching that. So I'm grateful for that, okay? Thank you. For the one who are watching live, let me know in the chat one takeaway that you got from Julie's resume review. One takeaway. This is our first resume review of the day, but I want to know if you learned something from it. I have more to share. I have another resume to review, but maybe that was enough. I don't know. Let me know in the chat if I should if I should review the second resume or not. I'm curious to know. Maybe that's enough. I can also stop in the first one. But if you want me to review another resume, I will do that. Just let me know in the chat, please, to see if this is helpful, if you're learning from what I just shared. Okay. Let me know in the chat if I should go to the next one and review a second one. In the chat, we have a comment here that it's familiar, but sometimes difficult to explain how measurable. Yes, I agree. When you try to present results or achievements in your resume, it can be difficult, right? First, to remember a good example to mention, but also like, how do I measure that? How can I be specific? How can I move from just listing what I did? Like in that case was like, I think Judy said, like negotiated contracts with providers and business consultants. How can I move from that to this was the result? This was the outcome. It's hard to remember, but it's also hard to measure, right? To find a way in maybe 1-2 lines, explain that, be clear about it. I know it, but that's the beauty of it, because if you do it, I can assure you that most of job seekers are not doing that. So your resume will for sure stand out from others, especially for remote jobs that the competition is so high. So this is even more important, even more necessary to do that. I teach my clients, I have a specific material about achievements, about results, how to remember them, how to measure them, how to write that in their resume. I share this material. I talk a lot with my clients about it because it is a struggle. I know that. So it's a topic that we cover a lot in my sessions, in my group mentorings and all of that, okay? Another comment here, I learned it's good to add if you have remote experience. Did not know this, extremely important. Glad that you learned that. So if you have remote work experience, make sure you add that in different parts of your resume, in different ways also. I also teach that to my clients, but yes, very good learning to add, if you have, it's not about lying, it's not about lying, but if you do have remote work experience in your resume, make sure you add that, okay? I'm going to go to the second resume review. If you want to have your resume reviewed by me, just come here. Yeah, in this QR code, scan it, and you're going to be directed to exclusive group you scan this QR code here on the screen, you're going to be directed to an exclusive group about resumes for remote job. It's the topic of the group, hot topic, right? And there you're going to find the instructions, so you can follow the instructions. I will get your resume and I can review it in this live or in the next lives. I'm going to do more lives, so you're still on time to have your resume reviewed by me live here, okay? Also in this group, I will share next week a special offer for you to have my direct feedback about your resume, because what I'm sharing here is like 5%, 3% maybe, let's say 5% of what I can share about resume writing for remote jobs. There is much more. I just don't have the time or the capacity here in the live, and I do it in a different context, right? So here, I will share an offer to help you specifically with your resume for remote jobs, give you all the details, all the feedback about your resume. So if you want to know more about it, join the group. I'll share all the details there. Without any further ado, I'm going to go to the second resume that I want to review. So bear with me here. We're going to the second resume. Grab pen and paper. Be ready. New resume, that's Michelle's resume. So Michelle, thank you. Thank you for sharing your resume. Thank you for being open for my feedback. As I said before about Julie's resume, there are a lot of things that are great in your resume, Michelle. I just won't have the time to talk about them. So I will go straight to the aspects that can be improved, but there are a lot of very interesting things, very good things in your resume, okay? But the focus of this live for training purposes to give you feedback about the things that can be improved. So Michelle, you will be able to improve a lot your resume today, and everybody who is watching, taking notes, and then, of course, implementing, right, in their resume will also be able to improve that. Michelle, if you are live, watching live, let me know in the chat. Just say hi. That will be nice. Say, hey, I'm here. I'm Michelle. It will be nice to know that you are here, okay? All right, so let's do this. Feedback about Michelle's resume, because Michelle wants to land, she wants to land a remote job, okay? Michelle, look, your resume, I will just scroll it down a little bit so people can have a quick glance at it, okay? Look, this is your resume. We have the first page, we have the second page, we have the third page, we have the fourth, and we have 5 pages in total. Michelle, your resume, your document has 5 pages, okay? What it means is that it is very long for, let me go back to the initial part. Okay. Your resume, Michelle, has 5 pages, okay? This is not recommended for resumes for remote jobs. The reason is very simple. Recruiters who are screening the resumes for remote jobs, they are very busy. I was a recruiter for 15 years. I remember it's like crazy. The amount of resumes, the amount of interviews to schedule and meetings with the managers and contacting candidates, plus a lot of other admin stuff. It's a lot of work, okay? So recruiters don't have the time to read 5 pages of resume. And I totally get your point, especially because you have a lot of work experience. I think your first job was in 2000, right? 2000. So you have at least 24 years of experience, because maybe you have more than you did enlisted. So I totally understand, Michelle, how hard it is to summarize the information, like what am I going to leave out of my resume? How can I summarize that and all of that? So the older we get, the more work experience we have, the harder it is to summarize. I totally get that. And also there is that belief, which is a false belief, but it's a common one, that people say, the more I mention in my resume, the more I write, the better. And it's not like that. So Michelle, my first feedback to you is, please try to keep your resume in 2 pages. Ooh, it's less than half what you have. Yes, I know. This is going to be challenging, but 5-page resume is a no-go. It doesn't work out like that. Recruiters will not read it. It's not fair, because it's like, how come I'm writing something that they won't bother reading? But it's not to be fair. I'm sharing here, Michelle, this feedback with you to increase the chances that you land a remote job. So keep it short and sweet. 2 pages is a very good size. Some people, like Julie's resume, the one I reviewed before, it had 1 page. I personally struggle to create a resume with only one page. I think you need to condense the information too much, and you might sacrifice the layout of the resume, so it might not be compatible for applicant tracking system, but that's another story. So 2 pages is a very good size for your resume. So please review that. You have 5 pages now. I will suggest maximum 2. So what it means is that you're going to need to reduce the text. You're going to need to eliminate things. It's not to put like a letter like very, very small. It's not the thing. You need to reduce the text. You need to be more direct to the point. You won't be able to write everything you wrote on the resume. So instead of 5 pages, please, you and everyone else that's trying to keep the resume in 2 pages, that's not too long, but not too short. So you have enough space to mention all the important things, but recruiters won't feel like lazy. And maybe they say, oh, let me check a short resume first, and then I go back to Michelle, and they never get back to your resume. So I want that recruiters for remote companies read your resume. That's my goal, because otherwise you're wasting our time here. There's no point in writing something that people probably won't read. So we want to increase the chances that they will read the resume. So the size matters. At least here, size is important. So 2 pages of a resume, okay? Checking my notes here, Michelle, because I was studying your resume before to give you the best feedback as possible. So I'm checking my notes here. Okay, the second note is to help you to reduce the text, because I can imagine it's going to be very challenging to go from 5 pages to 2 pages. So keep in mind, Michelle, that everything that you list on your resume, everything, in every single session, in the professional summary, in the skills, in the work, is everywhere, okay, not in all the parts of the resume, you should only mention information, skills, words, right, that are directly relevant to the job you are applying for, okay? If it's a remote job, so the things that are relevant, right, important, that will match the requirements in the job description for that job. So how can you identify what is important for the job you're applying for? Consider the job description, okay, the job spec, the details of the job you're applying for. Focus on the remote work requirements, the remote work experience, skills they're looking for. And if you have that, you talk about those things in your resume. Anything that is not updated or that is not listed in the job description as a requirement, you can remove from your resume, okay? Also, it gets confused if you are talking about way too many things. So let me find an example here. There are plenty of examples. And I know that like you're an executive assistant, which is a kind of job that you do a lot of different things. I totally get that. But look in the skills. You mentioned, for example, you mentioned some IT programs like Dropbox, Canva, Evernote, and then you spoke about troubleshooting desktop, which is totally different, right? And then you spoke about bookkeeping and payroll, totally different thing, accounts payable. Then you mentioned human resource, so you touch like human resource, payment, IT, it's a lot. It's a lot. It feels confusing when people read the resume. It's like, so what is she actually good at? It's like too much. And I'm not saying you haven't done it. And probably as an executive assistant, you have done a little bit of this and even more, I'm assuming, right? But when you put that in your resume, when this is the first impression that the recruiter gets, it feels confused. The recruiter only want to know, like, I have this remote job. Does Michelle meets the requirements? Yes or no, that's it. I don't want to know everything that you did. So you're going to need to shorten up the text to eliminate that based on the job description and mention in your resume, in the new resume, the shorter version, only the things that are directly related to that remote job you want to apply for, okay? This can be hard to understand and to implement because there is this idea that the more I mention in the resume, the better, right? I'm going to impress the recruiter more because they will see everything that I did. But no, you're going to confuse the recruiter. So I know this can be the first time you hear that. It's the first time that when I tell that to my clients, a lot of times they're like, wow, Juliana, I never thought about it like that. It's kind of a mindset shift. So let me know in the chat if you knew about it, that less is more in the resume, that you don't need to mention everything, but only the right things in the resume. So let me know in the chat if you knew that already, or even if you have any specific way to do that. Maybe the ones who have been, rewriting the resume recently, they have something that they did that helped to do that. So also feel free to share in the chat if this is the case. But look, Michelle, you will need to review the whole text and identify what is relevant to the remote jobs you're applying for. Putting more emphasis on the skills that are also desirable for remote jobs, interesting for remote jobs. You have a lot of skill, you have a very solid and long work experience, but not all those things will be relevant for remote jobs. So you will need to shorten up and stick to the ones that are directly relevant to the remote jobs. That's how you're gonna reduce the text in your resume, okay? And also, I'm gonna scroll down, Michelle, your resume, and I wanna go to, look how many bullet points you mentioned, to only one job. Look, all of that, and I'm scrolling down, it's only one job. It's a lot. You need to reduce that. Okay, this is the job I want to talk about, Michelle. This help desk position, okay, that you had back in 2022, right? So for 1 month, from May 2022 until June 2022, you were working as a help desk in that company, Tech Systems, okay? Nice. Had a help desk experience. You mentioned 5 bullet points about it. That's nice. But my point here is, Michelle, this job was, you only worked for 1 month there, okay? It is a very short work experience. In cases like that, especially when you stayed for a very short period of time in one job, plus you have already 24 years of work experience, plus your resume has 5 pages, so we need to find a way to shorten up, to reduce the resume, right? That's what I'm saying here in different ways. So if we need to reduce and remove information, a job that you stayed for only 1 month should not be your priority. So most likely you can directly remove this work experience from your resume. But there are some things to consider. Look, the previous job, the executive assistant, right, this one. Let me see if I can mark it here. Wait, I'm trying to highlight it here. Okay, now, sorry. The previous job, the executive assistant, membership coordinator, you finished that in April 2022, okay, in April. Then you had the help desk job that lasted only 1 month. Let's see when you started the other job to see the gap they would have if you didn't mention the help desk. So we have April 2022, and then the next job was August 2022. So look, if you don't mention the help desk job, Michelle, the 1 month job, the gap you're going to have in the resume is going to be only 4 months, which is a totally reasonable gap, okay? So sometimes if the work experience was very short, we don't need to mention that in the resume. Exceptions are if you tell me, Juliana, I want to apply for a help desk position. That is the kind of job I want to apply for in the future. So therefore, it is important to mention that I had a short, but I had one experience as help desk. I will agree with you in this case, Michelle. If that short experience is 100% related to the job you want to apply for now, then it's worth it to mention. But if not, if you say, no, it was just like a temporary job, something I was helping a friend, whatever, they just hired me for a punctual project. It was kind of a, which seems to be because it was the only help desk job you had. So in this case, if it was just like, just to pay the bills, which is totally fine, but then don't put it in your resume because it looks confusing to the recruiter, and we need to shorten up the information. So less is more when it comes to resume writing. We want to ensure that we focus on the experiences that are relevant to the company, and mainly the experience, the skills, the information that demonstrate that you have, you're ready. You have a good profile to work remotely, okay? So my feeling is that this 1 month experience, also seeing your resume as an overview and the kind of jobs you did before that and after that, I don't think this is relevant, and it's one information that we can remove to shorten up a bit your resume, because we need to do that. Okay. Yeah, I think this is the main information I wanted to share about Michelle's resume. And again, the more work experience we have, the harder it is to summarize stuff. I know I suffer a lot with that. It's like, how am I going to reduce? Everything is important, because everything you did in the past brought you to where you are today, the professional you are today, right? So everything adds. But this is a resume. This is not your work history, okay? Remote companies, they want to know, are you a good fit for the job? Are you able to solve the problems that we have in this specific job? That's it. So your resume should show in different ways that you are a good fit for that remote position, that you have the skills to work remotely. That's it. That you meet the requirements that appear in the job description. All the rest is not necessary. It's pollution. It's noise. It's excessive and might distract the recruiter from the most important information. So less is more when it comes to resume writing. So Michelle, thank you once again for sharing your resume. I hope it was helpful. I don't know if Michelle is watching live. If you are, just say hi in the chat. If you're watching the recording, I hope it was helpful also, okay? We are moving towards the end of the live, so you still have a few minutes to share your comments, impressions in the chat, okay? Let me know. I'm going to read what is written there, but let's use those final minutes to exchange some informations here. So use the chat for that, okay? Let me read a comment here in the chat. This is an interesting topic. I never really thought about, actually I can put it here. Yes. This is an interesting topic. I never really thought about narrowing skills and experience to fit the job applying for. Yes. In my current job, I was contacted by a recruiter who noticed my resume because of the Jumbo Web experience, which fit the role of business operational manager. But for most normal jobs, I can see what you're saying would be more helpful. Exactly. Unfortunately, I don't see your name here for some reason. I don't know if you're not connected or kind of a bug on LinkedIn, so I cannot call you by the name, apologies, but what you shared is really interesting. So narrowing down your skills and your experience in the resume to fit that specific remote job you're applying for will make a difference, okay? The resume should be specific for the remote job you're applying for. Forget about generic resume, the same resume to all the jobs. No, one job, one resume. I teach my clients how to make this process easier, because otherwise you can spend a lot of time just tailoring, making the change in the resume for each job. But it is important to do it, and there are ways to do that. Catherine, okay, Catherine, thank you. There are ways to optimize, to adjust your resume to that specific remote job. You should do that. I also teach my clients how to do it, okay? So yeah, thanks for sharing that. Remember, this QR code is here, not to just look beautiful, though it does look beautiful, right? But this QR code is here to invite you to also have your resume reviewed by me in my next live. I'm gonna do still a few more lives reviewing resumes here and giving you tips, helping you to improve your resume for remote jobs. So if you want to have your resume reviewed by me, just scan this QR code. You're going to be directed to a private group only about resumes for remote job. It's only about that, nothing else. And there you will see the step-by-step to send me your resume so I can review it. Maybe, right? I have a lot of resumes already, but there is a chance I might select your resume to be reviewed here. Also in this group, next week, I'm going to share a special offer for you to have my direct support and feedback in your resume. So I want to go deeper with your resume. I want to review every single part of it, tell you more in details. I want to teach you how to improve your resume for a remote job. I'm going to do all of that here in this group. So special offer next week. You need to be in the group to know the conditions, to have the link to join all of that. I won't talk about it anywhere else. It's only in the group. Special offer next week to have my direct support to ensure, to guarantee that your resume is perfect for remote jobs, okay? Let me know in the chat one takeaway that you had from this line, one thing that you learned, if it was, a good use of your time to be here watching that. Let me know. I will appreciate to know it. That's going to also help me to improve my next lives, because I'm going to do more resume live reviews in the next few days. So let me know in the chat what was the main takeaway, the main learning that you had. I will appreciate to read that. Also, if you have any final question, any final comment, use those final minutes in the live to share that with me. But yeah, share your takeaway. Let me know one thing that you learned that you can implement in your resume. So look, I want to say this. When you apply for a remote job, especially in those times that we are all living, right? The competition is very high. The market it's hard. It was easier to land a remote job before. I remember those times. I've been working remotely for 10 years, helping my clients to land remote jobs for many years. So it was easier before. Now it's more difficult, okay? So basically you have two options. Or you sit and cry and say, oh, it's too hard. Competition is high. I won't make it. That's one option. I respect that. But the other option is I want to stand out and land my remote job despite of the competition. I'm going to do whatever it takes to land the flexible life I want. I want to be able to work from home, to work from my parents' place. I want to be able to live for 2 months in another city, maybe even another country. I want to travel and work at the same time. I want to be able to pick up my kids at school. My kids are growing. I want to meet them. I want to have lunch with them. I want to take them to school. If you want that, it is possible. My clients are landing remote jobs nowadays, like last week, this week. But you need to ensure that you're doing things in the right way. You have the right methodology. You have a strategy behind it. It's not just applying for jobs or needs apply on LinkedIn. So you need to stand out from other candidates. And one way to do that is guaranteeing that your resume is 100% a good fit for remote jobs. There are many things I can share about resumes for remote job. I just shared like 3% of what I'm going to share here. Yeah, I have more to share about it. This is important because having a good resume is one of the necessary steps to land a remote job. You cannot escape from it. You won't land a remote job if you don't have a good resume for remote jobs. So you see how important it is. So yes, it's important. Don't give up. If you want to land a remote job, start by the resume. It's a very good way to start. It's a good use of your time because you're going to need a resume sooner or later if you're applying for a remote job. So it's a very practical and relevant thing to put your attention if you want to land a remote job, okay? I have a comment here. Thank you, Juliana. Really enjoyed this session. Nice. Oh, let me share this on the screen here. Yes, thank you, Juliana. Really enjoyed this session. I've mentioned a couple of takeaways above, so I won't repeat. Okay, thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, again, for some reason, I don't see the name. I just see LinkedIn user. That's how I see it here. Apologies, I don't know what's happening here, but thank you for the feedback, and I'm glad that you had some takeaways here. That's good. That's the whole purpose of this live, okay? So thank you to everyone who was here live with me. Thank you for your contributions, for your energy. Thank you for the ones watching the recording also of this video. I'll see you here in this exclusive group for here. Click here, scan this QR code. Exclusive group for I also will put, yes, scan the QR code. Exclusive group to talk about resumes for remote jobs, to have the opportunity to maybe have your resume or your CV reviewed by me here in the next lives I'm going to do in the next few days, and also have access to the special offer to have my direct support in your specific resume, okay? All the details in the group. Thank you for your time. Nice to have you here. I will see you in the next live. So just keep an eye on it, okay? Take care. Bye.